way. So I would like to welcome Robin Thomas into my little studio.
Yes.
Very excited. So those who have seen these videos in the past know that I do have a purpose for this, and that is to basically allow others to peek in on our conversation. And I do have some questions, which I have not let her see. They are on my brain. It's stationary.
I'm blind.
She's totally blind to all of it, just like everyone else. And I hope you have as much fun as everyone else has.
I'm sure I will.
So why don't we start with who are you? And why do you do what you do? Do you want to talk a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
Who am I? Oh, wow. Well, my name is Robin Thomas.
Yes.
And I have lived in North Carolina since I was 17.
Oh, so just a few years.
Just a few years. I adore North Carolina. I came and just absolutely fell in love with it. So stayed, met my husband here.
Yeah.
We are both scientists. I'm a biologist and he's a chemist.
I love science.
Science.
I
love data. I love science.
A woman after my own heart.
Yes. Yes. And I worked after I graduated from my my degree at UNC, right in the middle of the state. I then worked at UNC in medical research. And so I did that. I went from everything from infectious diseases to working on sickle cell anemia and cell membrane, how the flexibility of it. And I helped put together a piece of equipment that used lasers to test the flexibility of the membrane. That was pretty awesome.
Lasers testing flexibility of membranes. I mean, I just imagine explosions happening, but I guess it didn't happen that way.
Not that intense.
Okay.
You can do a lot of things with lasers without exploding things.
But cell membrane just feels really fragile. I guess it's not.
We stretched it. We were looking at sickle cell. We were looking at other red blood cell disorders, and we had it in this viscous solution, and it would spin, and it would stretch the red blood cells, and the laser was actually just following how much it stretched. It was just it was very interesting.
That sounds really cool. Okay, so you
that's
did
one thing.
Laser cellular research for a while.
I did. Went on to looking at the autoimmune disorders and looking at inflammation. And a lot of what we did was looking at different states of disease. So if you know anyone who has an autoimmune disease, they go into flares. And
I am familiar with that concept.
Yeah, that flare. And so what we were trying to do is keep them in the
remission.
Yes, keep them in remission.
Big words.
And they looked at, I was in a larger lab, and a lot of what I did in that particular lab was run the lab and also meet with the patients and enroll them into these studies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds really fulfilling.
It was.
But you're not doing it anymore.
No, I'm not doing it. I have not been doing it for 15 years. And a lot has to do with life gets in the way.
Right.
And my son, who is actually sitting over there.
He's over here.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
When he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and he himself, while I was doing this research, here I have a son who has a number of autoimmune diseases.
Wow.
Type 1 diabetes and Hashimoto's and, a lot of things, leaky gut syndrome and a lot of things. And he became very, very ill at about age 10, 11. And it came to the point where it was really best for us to homeschool him, bring him out of school and work with him at home. One of the things that happened to him is with the type 1 diabetes as a 17-month-old, they mismanaged his care. We gave him too much insulin, and it affected his brain. And it affected his short-term memory. So hitting in middle school with no short-term memory is tough.
I actually tried to get a college degree with no short-term memory.
That's right.
That's why I have a bachelor's in philosophy.
It's very tough. It's
fun facts. It's very hard.
And it's amazing how we connect because we got all these little things that go together.
Yeah.
So I just was homeschooling him, and then I was going a little bit batshit crazy.
She said it. It's okay, though. It's okay, because it's true. We go a little nuts.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I started, and actually one of the things I was trying to do was also do my job in odd times a day. And
your research job.
Yeah, my research job. I was still trying to do research. I was still trying to homeschool Kevin. I was going in at 3 a.m. to work, all these kind of things.
So that must have been really good for your own health.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Like, can you say you can't get out of bed in the morning until you really...
I mean, and you know better than to, just pump yourself full of caffeine so that you can function, because that only
Well,
works.
I did that at that time.
Right, but how long does that work? Right?
Caffeine and NABS crackers.
NABS crackers?
It's a North Carolina thing.
You got to come here to learn about the NABS, and you apparently have to be here more than 3 years, because I've never heard of NABS.
They're those orange crackers with peanut butter and stuff.
Oh, okay. So
packets.
Oh,
we call them NABS.
So, okay, I'm chock full of preservatives and sugars and all the other things that we now
know. And so I've learned so much. I mean, think about this. I was in the medical community and we were doing this.
Yeah.
We were eating donuts for breakfast because you could grab one in the hospital cafeteria quickly, and living on coffee and doing our research and then rushing home. But I did discover a little bit more about holistic health by working with a company called USANA Health Sciences. And that's how my journey to do holistic health began. And
USANA is still science.
USANA is definitely science. I'm always going to keep at least half of myself into I don't want to say true science, into hard science.
Well, and into those things that we can measure, that we can feel confident with those recommendations because we've seen the proof.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that is that hard part when people try to separate holistic from science, but there's science in a lot of this.
That's what's exciting.
Right.
That's what's exciting when you come find out and looking into things and you find out that there is the science behind ancient Chinese medicine. There's the sciences, the science isn't so much. It's in the essential oil. Why do they work? Well, there's science.
There is science.
There's science behind nutrition. There's even more science than saying, eat your vegetables.
Or eating a lot of fatty, or, eating a lot of bad foods makes you fat.
Yeah.
Reducing them makes you skinny. There's hard science behind a lot of the things that our holistic practitioners in this community do.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons I definitely wanted to get you in front of this camera.
Yeah, because that's what excites me. And that was opening my eyes to things, because the regular allopathic medical stuff we were doing to help my son was not working.
Right.
So we went out of the box. And think, if I'm analytical, my husband being an analytical chemist.
Wow.
But it is amazing because we discovered just a different way of looking at things. And I took my son out to Minnesota to see a practitioner there. And then I came back and I said, my husband, you got to come with me next time.
What kind of practitioner in Minnesota?
He is a functional neurologist.
I love functional neurologists.
Yes, a functional neurologist and a chiropractor, but he really, and definitely what we would consider, this was probably 12 or 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was things that weren't being said here by the medical community. Now even the medical community is talking about leaky gut and things like that. It's just amazing how it takes them a little while, it takes them a long while to catch up.
Well, and I mean, there are a lot of reasons for that. They're probably good fodder for another video. So I do my very best to make sure that we don't trash talk anyone, because we recognize that all humans that are involved in the healing process are doing the best that they can. But the biggest thing that I take from what you've said is, we all need to advocate for ourselves and what's right for ourselves and our family. And even if it's not within that, traditional, when you've got diabetes, you go to this place. And when things aren't working, it's not necessarily saying, oh, medicine is bad. It's just saying this did not work, so we're going to go find something that does.
And the exciting thing is, people don't understand how science works sometimes. Because they say, well, why do you say this? And then 5 years later, they're saying something else. Well, there's more data. We've learned more.
And hypotheses become truths.
Yes,
in the mainstream too quickly.
Absolutely.
Right.
They become this latest, greatest.
What do they call it? It's something called, it's scientism, right? Isn't that like, there's like that belief that just because something is said makes it true with a capital T, which I learned in philosophy means a universal truth. Okay, I'm just saying. I learned from that.
Well, there's something that we said about research.
Right.
Research means you do it again and again,
replication,
and again, until you're finding the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And seeing it replicating across like at least 80%, right?
Right.
I mean, in behavior analysis, it was like you don't shoot for 100%, you shoot for 80%. 80% is where you have that.
Yeah.
It's like that pretty spot where there's mastery or there's knowledge that's there that we can see.
Yeah. And then there's using it and trying it and experimenting with it and seeing that.
And trying it across populations. And so there is so much more. I think people are like, oh, research is this one thing. And we both know that it is not. So it's very cool to be able to kind of meet people where they are with their beliefs about research and medicine and be able to know both sides of it.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're really well grounded.
Someone gave me an image many years ago, 10 years ago, and she's a physician in Australia, and she said, think of how geese fly. I love this. Think of how geese fly. When they fly in formation, they're all supporting each other. And she says integrative medicine and holistic medicine is so much like that. There's different modalities, and together they can fly long distances, and they can fly, stronger, and they do,
and make it easier for one
another. And she says we're not saying in holistic practices, we're not saying throw out medicine.
Right.
What we're saying is have the support.
Right.
Which is, I just love that image of the geese flying.
I do too. I've never heard that. I love that. So then, now, what do you do with your clients? Like, when people come to work with you, it's not like you're just saying, these are all of my supplements, take these and you'll feel better. Like, what is it like for somebody to come and work with Robin Thomas?
Well, I like to have a conversation and find out where they are and what's important to them, because it's easy for one person to look at another and say, you need this, you need that. No, it's more important of what they are needing in themselves.
Okay.
What I feel like they're needing. And whether it's they're saying, oh, I really need to figure out how to sleep better. I'm not sleeping well.
Right.
Or I really am having trouble getting active and exercising. Everybody says I need to exercise, but I don't feel well enough to exercise.
Right.
So what do I do?
And so, and I think it's interesting because, I think, especially when I think about my autoimmune disease, if I were coming to somebody and say, I don't have the energy to exercise because I'm so sick, right?
Right. There's this give and take. And nutrition is a big part of it. It's just a part of it.
And so do you help people with the nutrition?
I do help. We have a number of ways to help people guide to what they need as far as supplements goes.
Okay.
But also there's another big piece of the puzzle that has absolutely helped my son, and I know. We are all different. We are all personal in our bodies. We can be sensitive to different foods.
Yeah.
And some foods, and sometimes it's the foods we love the most.
Oh, yeah. I can't eat mac and cheese anymore.
I know.
I love my mac and cheese.
Have you ever had cauliflower? Well, yeah, but then you gotta have it.
It's not the same. If anybody who's listening has any because for 20 years now I've been crying over my missing mac and cheese. And people have all sorts of no soy, no dairy either, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's no soy, no dairy. Right. And this happens, and sometimes people like to do the diary.
Like the food journals?
To do the food journals to figure out what might be giving you a problem. If that's not enough, I love to recommend people. I love to refer people. And so I know a number of people who are very good in that food sensitivity.
Right.
And they have some blood tests they do. And some of them or IgG tests, and some of them are.
So you're going back to that goose formation, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, you start with me, and then you get all the other resources.
You get all the other resources. What I really like to do is help people change their daily habits. But I don't come in and say, boom, you need to change this, 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 and this. It's like with that conversation of what do you want to work on? What do you want to change? Then we take that little piece and we go from there and say, well, there's some suggestions you may be able to do. What do you want to work on?
So you're like a health Sherpa.
Yeah. I like that.
I like that too. Well, because, there are some people, like with me, I have a modality. I put people through this and we individualize it. For you, it's like, what do you need from me? And I can help you get there.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. And feels very gentle. I'm a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
So you're like.
I'm not a drill sergeant.
No.
I can't. I can be an accountability partner through this, but I'm not a drill sergeant. I do have certain things that I really believe helps a lot of people.
That's one of my next questions. What are some of the values and beliefs that you hold about healing and humans and that connection?
Gosh. Well, a lot of it is mindset.
Okay.
So much of it is mindset. Because if you go in to wanting to improve your health with a negative mindset,
that's not. I have to do this.
I'm not going to be a drill sergeant. I'm not. It's going to be somebody. One thing I'll say to people is that when people will often say, "Oh, you need to go help this friend of theirs," and they'll say they just sit on the couch. They're a couch potato. They're eating the wrong stuff. They just really need the magic that you have. And I'm like, until they come to me and say they want help, I am not going to go to someone and say, you need my products. You need my stuff. I don't do that. So I like that. I like curiosity mindset. Someone who is like, okay, let's try this. I know that not any suggestions I make are going to be the thing.
Right.
I know that, but you never know what's going to work.
Well, and I love that you say that because, like I said, especially when it comes to health coaches and nutrition coaches, there are a lot of people who say, this is the thing that will work for everybody. But sometimes we forget that our internal chemistry will be reactive in perhaps a different way. And so
you said something about, I don't just give supplements.
Right.
I don't. I like to give information.
Okay.
But we also need to go through these. Is this particular one going to be appropriate?
Okay.
And so
do you do like labs to help people? Is that part of the science, or is it intuitive? Or
I don't. It's going to be some information of if people know they're sensitive to soy,
okay,
or if they know they're sensitive to dairy, or people come to me and if they don't know at all, sometimes it's worth trying.
Right. Well,
because I've seen some fantastic results with some of our supplements. But I'm not going to be the person that says, if this doesn't work for you, there's something wrong with you.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad.
Because that happens.
It does. And I'm sure there are many viewers who are skeptical of trying anything else because they've worked with those people in the past who said, well, if it's not working for you, it's because you've done it wrong.
Exactly.
It's, insult to injury. And if you guys are anything like me, I was sick of that. Yeah. Just sick of it. Like, I can't keep getting blamed and punished for something because I didn't know. I didn't understand. Yeah. And I had all these, I think, well-meaning doctors who would tell me things like, food has nothing to do with intestinal health.
My son got told that. But what you're eating has nothing to do with his health. There's a gut-brain connection.
Do we all know about the gut-brain connection?
Whoa. So that we've found that has a major effect on everybody.
Well, and truthfully, I don't know how anyone, I think that was when I first started getting angry, because it was like, how can a gastroenterologist we've known for many years that if you eat the wrong foods, you get fat, and if you eat the right foods, you get skinny, right? So how can you say that food has no impact on your gut if we know that baseline weight gain and weight loss is associated with it? So, like, you know, to me, it just didn't make sense. And of course, I had to reel that anger back in because that doesn't serve anybody either, right? So when you talk about mindset, it's a lot more than just the foods we're eating. You know, we have those brain cells.
Well, it goes back and forth.
Like,
that connection goes back and forth. So if you get that anger, that's going to mess up your gut even more.
Exactly.
And
it is that closed cycle. And so it doesn't serve us to get angry, but it does serve us to use that anger to say, maybe this isn't the right doctor for me, or maybe this isn't my right course. So who can I reach out to? And it sounds like you're a phenomenal resource for resources.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I started doing a couple of years ago. Well, 3 years ago.
Okay.
Things were working so well, and like I said, I took my son out to Minnesota.
Right.
Well, you know, you can't keep going back and forth to Minnesota. So then I came here, back home to North Carolina, and was reaching out to a lot of different practitioners here, and some dead ends for us personally, but found a wonderful community of people who really are heart-centered and want to help. So I have a community called Living Well Connections. Yay!
I love it.
And Living Well Connections started with just practitioners. I was just gathering practitioners. But it's open to anyone who has that interest, that mindset of I'm looking for wellness, and I'm open and curious to find out what all is out there. For locally, we have meetings, and it's just an open community. This is not, you don't have to pay to be in this community. Just come to one of the lunch and learns.
Yeah.
And get to know people. And then to continue to get to know people, I have a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group just to make it safer feeling. And in that Facebook group, we have conversations. And in that conversation, we're not diagnosing anything.
No.
We're just having general conversations about wellness. And I encourage all my practitioners, all my friends who are practitioners, to post what they're expert in. You know? So it's a wonderful community there, and online is actually international. I have people from Malaysia there. I have
this woman is magic
all over Europe there, and anything. But then of course, my Malaysian friends don't come to the lunch and learns.
No, probably not. We should start, recording or having them live stream, because I have words today, friends. Well, we're going to get close to the end of this here, and I'd love to know, like, what is your ideal client looking for? Like, when the people that you have worked with that had the greatest successes, what were they looking for when they found you?
They were looking more of, like I said, I am not a physician.
Right.
I don't diagnose.
Thank goodness.
I help people who want to make a few changes. And it usually starts small, and then it grows as they see success.
Right.
A few changes, they're like, oh, wow, this. And yes.
As the scientist heart, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would say most of my ideal clients are women who are in their 40s to into their 60s. A lot of it is because they've spent a lot of time taking care of others. And they suddenly find out,
right?
A lot of time taking care of others, or they're still taking care of others, but they made that realization that, I need to take care of myself.
If I want to continue taking care of others, I need to take care of myself. And that's often a mindset.
And that's true. And that's what happened to me personally. You asked me how my health was when I started 15 years ago. And it was not great.
Right.
It was not great. I didn't even take the time to go to the doctor myself because I was busy taking Kevin to the doctor.
Right. Been there.
And I was so, I don't know, I don't have a diagnosis, didn't have a diagnosis of fibromyalgia or
no, but you were sleep deprived and the food wasn't good and like you were toxifying yourself just trying to stay focused.
Exactly.
And that equals pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Robin, you're amazing. You're amazing. Look at you. Robin is amazing. First of all, I want to thank you for coming in and doing this with me today.
Oh, this has been This has been so
It's
much
fun, right? I make everybody nervous because I won't let anybody see the questions, which anybody who's watching in the videos can see me hide my questions. But this has been wonderful. For any of you who are looking for a way to open the door to a path towards healing, Robin, she is magic. She's going to deny it, but she's magic. So all of her information is going to be clickable right there under that gorgeous face of a picture. And we will be available for you to ask any questions.
Absolutely. You can ask any questions. It's easy to know my website because it's my name.
Yes, robinthomas.biz.
.biz.
.biz.
It's not .com because that hunky actor, Robin Thomas, grabbed that one. He wasn't even using it. I had to get it.
I hate it when that happens.
He's using it now.
All right, well, good.
But robinthomas.biz.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you'll learn about the community there. You'll learn about me and the kind of things that I can do to help you.
And then you can find on Facebook, Living Well Connections.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Look under groups, Living Well Connections.
And this was so much fun. I'm going to hug you. Yay! Thank you for being here. And get in touch because it's going to change your life.